You're welcome to the new central series of our exclusives. And today we're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. And it's no longer news that people have been talking about the big election to come in West Africa, talking about Nigeria's election. It was only recently the East African nation of Kenya had its election, and the Deputy President, William Ruto, is elected. Now in Nigeria, once upon a time, it used to be a two-horse race. But for the first time in many years, Nigeria is talking about a four-horse race. Today, my guest is someone who's been a big politician in Nigeria's Northwest, someone who's been to the National Assembly, someone who's also served as Minister of Defense, as some would say, without prior knowledge. He's an engineer of repute, and today he's the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party. He's Rabiu Kwankwaso. Good to have you, and thanks for having time with us today.
Thank you very much.
You are an engineer, and we know your love for education, especially for female education. You want to see women get educated. You did that much in Kano and, of course, in your home. And you're also interested in having women go into the medical profession. Let's start from there. How did this start for you? Because some have said, now we're getting to see more female medical doctors now, especially in Kano State.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and thank you for having me on this program. Now, on the issue of Kwankwasiyya, that's our philosophy, that's our ideology, which was mainly based on what our leader, late Malam Aminu Kano, has been teaching us all his life. Under that, education is very critical, is very important, and that was being appreciated by each and every one of you in Kwankwasiyya movement, and by extension the NNPP itself. And especially women education is very important, especially in this part of our country, in northern Nigeria, where people were finding it difficult to send their children or their wives or any female person to school. So one of the achievements that we had in Kano for the 8 years I was governor was to mobilize the entire populace to support education with special emphasis on the issue of girl-child education. And a lot has been achieved. I'm happy that you are aware that we have sponsored hundreds and hundreds of young men and women to study in this country and, of course, around the world. We supported education at primary level, at secondary level, and, of course, at even tertiary level, to the extent that in just 4 years, my last 4 years in Kano State, we sponsored over 3,000 young men and women to 14 countries around the world. And that is in addition to our special scholarship that we had in this country. We established 2 universities, Kano University of Science and Technology and Northwest University. These are the only universities that are owned by Kano State government. And the Kano University of Science and Technology was established in 2001. While the Northwest University was established in 2012. Now, if you look at the tertiary education itself, because we are very much in a hurry, really, to encourage people to go to tertiary education or level, we even selected federal universities like the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, the Usman Danfodio University in Sokoto, and Maiduguri University, where we built 300 300-bed hostels for the 3 universities free of charge to encourage them to give
Did you say free of charge?
Free of charge to encourage them to admit the people of Kano State, which they did effectively, to the extent that 2 years into my 4-year administration, there was no single individual who had university qualification and wanted to go for university that did not go. Yeah. And so also we ensured that any child of school age had opportunity to go to school, not only to go to school, but to have a facility to sit down and have a teacher. That's why we employed so many, in fact, thousands of teachers in primary, in secondary, and tertiary level.
And so on and so forth. Sorry to cut you here, because that was an amazing moment. Some will say the golden moments of Northwest, development or Northwest politics. Before we talk about what Northwest is going through at the moment, you said something about building, these free of charge. It reminds us that you are an engineer, and Nigerians have always talked about infrastructural deficit. And this, as a former minister, should also worry you at the moment. You served in President Obasanjo's government. How would you rate, development of infrastructure with this administration, in comparison to when you served as minister back then in the early 2000s?
Well, if you are talking of performance of engineers, or what?
No, I'm talking about infrastructural development, fixing, building roads, bridges.
Certainly, everybody knows that the administration of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the 2 terms, the first one, I was governor of Kano in 1999 to 2003. And the second one, I was Minister of Defense. And therefore, I had this opportunity of working with the federal government closely. And I believe that there was no comparison between what was being achieved during the Chief Olusegun Obasanjo administration, that's our administration, and this existing administration. And of course, infrastructure is very important, not only for the benefit that they give when they are completed. Certainly during the construction itself, it provides a lot of job opportunities for so many people in so many areas, including the engineers you mentioned. And of course, it creates also opportunity for a lot of businesses to thrive. People would sell almost everything that has to do with the construction directly and even indirectly. We have people selling all sorts of things, ranging from food to even textiles. People have been empowered to have more money. Therefore, they go to the market. And on the issue of engineers themselves, I have no doubt in my mind that engineers or Nigerian engineers are very competent. I had my ordinary diploma and HND in Kaduna Polytechnic, and I had an opportunity to go to the United Kingdom, to India as a student. And many of my colleagues, I know that, people coming from all over the world in these 2 countries that I had opportunity to be a student. And most of them, if not all of them, are not any better than any one of us. And I think the difference normally is when you go back to your countries or where you find yourself. For example, if somebody today is a Nigerian engineer and is working with Julius Berger, for example, of course the culture, the tradition, and of course the ethics and so on are there. The standard has already been built. it will certainly be completely different from somebody who goes to work in our local government, or you go to state government where probably there is just nothing to do.
You said something, Kaduna Polytechnic. You're a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. And when you go back, or at the moment, students are home running to month. But when you went to that school, you were so proud of yourself to the extent that when you went to the United Kingdom, you stood at par with other students. How does it feel saying that schools are not what they used to be when you went to school then?
Well, it's very sad. That's why we are now working so hard to succeed in 2023 election. We all know what is happening in this country in terms of the economy, in terms of security, in terms of infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And it is our collective responsibility to come and, in fact, change the tide that we are seeing today. And that's why we have to put all our hands together and, of course, our heads, so that we can save this country. In those days, we have all what we required in terms of laboratories, in terms of workshops, in terms of qualified lecturers, and so on and so forth, to the extent that we had good quality education. Even when we left this country, you find it very easy, really, to compete with anybody from anywhere, from any institution across the world. The same may not be said now that we have issues as we are speaking today. ASU members on strike, meaning all these universities are being closed, and only God knows when they are going to open them. My guess is that very soon they may write or they may come and agree on figures and so many things and just jump and leave government. And then it becomes the responsibility of the next administration to come and probably implement something that is not implementable. So all these things are there. And I'm so happy that we had that good quality education at that particular time. And our prayer is that very soon we will have government in this country that not only will go back to where we had that opportunity to even improve, because I believe that with good leadership, this country can go to any level.
You know, talking about leadership, you mentioned the great African sage, Malam Aminu Kano, and now you say your movement is taking, his philosophies and ideas, the Kwankwasiyya movement. For those who are watching us from across Africa and other parts of Nigeria, perhaps let's give them a sense of how big this movement is.
Well, the size of Kwankwasiyya movement is so huge, especially in northern Nigeria. And when I say northern Nigeria, I'm not talking of one zone. We are talking of a fraction which is bigger than 50% of the country in terms of population.
That big?
In terms, yeah, and that is one. And of course, now we can happily say that it cuts across the country and even beyond. We have offices in all these 5 continents. People who believe in us have opened their offices. They are working around the clock. And I can tell you that we had wanted to test the Kwankwasiyya movement in 2015. And that's when I contested a primary election with the president of the country, Muhammadu Buhari. And of course, he came first and came second in Lagos. So also in 2019, where I lost to Atiku. Now, I'm so happy now, and I'm sure most Nigerians are so happy that the name of Rabiu Kwankwaso will be on the ballot paper this time around for the first time.
Because some were not happy with you, because they still think that sometimes you had a chance to move on, to soldier on, but somehow you stand down and allow other people to pick the ticket. They still think that sometimes, I'm sure you must have heard that argument. They still think that Rabiu Kwankwaso sometimes comes into the race and deliberately loses that election. Because now you talked about how you came second. That was a close one, and people still think that you considered that deliberately, politically speaking, to the present president.
No, if you're talking of that primary election in 2015 in Lagos, if one was not serious about it, I wouldn't have defeated Atiku Abubakar in that race. You cannot go there, you are not serious, and defeat somebody like him. And defeated Rocha Sokorocha, who came third in the election. So I'm hearing that for the first time. Everybody knows that I am a very serious person. Wherever I am, I go for the goal, not to joke about it. And I'm so happy that this time around, 2023, I, by the grace of God, will be on the ballot paper. And that's when everybody would know the strength of Kwankwasiyya. And I can tell you that across the country, it's very difficult, especially in northern Nigeria, to find any one house that you don't have a member. But
and that's the thing, I think people will concede that to you, and people are asking, is he making any kind of incursion into other parts of the country? Because now you said people have opened offices in 5 continents, and they're looking to send the Kwankwasiyya movement with the same crowd, with the same energy they see adorning your colors in northern Nigeria, in other parts of the country. Is that why your deputy presidential candidate, vice presidential candidate, is from that part of the country?
Oh yes, you see, party is free to put anybody as its president or vice president. But you see, people have to be sensitive with the realities on the ground today. In 1992, I was Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps. That's when we had Chief M.K. Abiola as our presidential candidate, Babagana Kingibe as our vice presidential candidate. I was Deputy Speaker. I was at the center of everything. And that was the situation at that particular time. And we went ahead and we defeated, as a party, defeated NRC in Kano, in northern Nigeria, and in Nigeria. Everybody knew that SDP won that election. And that was the situation. Now, over the years, unfortunately, we had many issues that did not help matters in terms of unifying the country religiously, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of North and South. We have issues everywhere, in fact, to the extent that many people are saying that they want to secede, they want to do this and that. So we are very sensitive, and that was why we felt not only to pick a Christian. We have an archbishop as my running mate, Bishop Isaac Idahosa. And we are very happy, and all our people are happy. That,
so you think it's so important, because you said the realities of our time. So you think it's so important that we have, an inclusive government that involves everyone, irrespective of their beliefs.
Yes, it is important now to prove to the people that your party and yourself are sensitive to the realities of the moment. And there is no question about it. That can only, I believe, will be proved during the 2023 election. People are worried based on their experiences from that time, which is 30 years exactly now, To date, we have seen so many things that are so unfortunate that we pray to Almighty God to change it for the better. I would love to see in my lifetime where a Christian ticket or Muslim ticket, or even if somebody has no religion, can come out and be voted for based on the fact that he has the capacity or they have the capacity to save the country. Now, what people are saying now at grassroots level, that they are looking for somebody who can save them. As we are sitting now, you cannot comfortably drive from here to Kaduna. As we are sitting today, only knows how many villages are being chased out from places. Only God knows how many IDPs we have in the state's capital and local government headquarters and so on and so forth. Now, Nigeria, as it stands today, I believe is in the position to at least protect lives and properties of its citizens. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So people are looking, not only looking for their brothers and sisters, people are looking for people who have the capacity to save them, to even be alive, to even be allowed to go to their farms or to buy items from point A to point B and sell it to another. So we are in a very critical position, and therefore what we are trying to prove to everybody in this country is to say that, look, we have the capacity and we have proved it. I proved it in the last 30 years in terms of ability to perform, in terms of credibility itself, and in terms of love and empathy for the people, for the masses. And that's the sort of leaders that we need in this country and even across Africa.
And you know, that was why I said those are the golden days of Kano when you were talking about, I could see smiles on your face when you were talking about what you did in terms of education and infrastructure. And when you lost that election, you served in President Obasanjo's government. And many people said, wait a minute, this is an engineer. He has no formal knowledge about the military or defense. And somehow, would you say you performed well?
Yes, you see, even our critics have considered Kano to us, worst critics. Now, why Kano? Kano is the most populous state in this country, especially in the north. In terms of registration, we are number 2. And Kano is a cosmopolitan city and state. You have almost everybody be represented there, even across the world. Now, why do they support Rabiu Kwankwaso? The answer is simple. It's because they know him. They know his performance. They know his capacity. It's not because people support me because I'm from Kano. And you can see the support goes like that from Kano down to the end of to Niger and even across. So people believe that we have the capacity to handle the affairs of the state and now of the country. And of course, I was in the second term in the government of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and I can assure you, based on performance, that we are being loved by the entire military and even security family in this country. If you like, try my red cap and go around this country, and you will see the reaction of the people, especially within the security cycle, especially people who are from Kano or northern Nigeria. So what we tell everybody is that don't just say, I like this man because you see him on TV or you met in the airport and so on. Go to his hometown, ask the people. They will tell you about him. And whatever they tell you, even if it contradicts what you think, I will advise you take that one because they know him. That man is their son. They know him better than anyone. So I'm so happy and very much elated that I have this opportunity to serve my people as a civil servant for 17 years in Kano and as a politician now for 30 years. And there is no blemish. The graph is going up.
I'm trying to look at that graph now because there's something about you, and it has to do with what some have said is your insight into capacity and capabilities of people. And I'll bring this. You're the very first in that dispensation from 1999 who supported his deputy to take over from him at that point in time. I remember the present governor of Kano State, Dr. Ganduje, was your deputy, and you wanted him to succeed you, even though he lost in that first attempt. So what do you see in some of these people that will make you give them your support? Because some are asking, why Bishop Idahosa? Because as a politician, one would have thought that you would go for some big names in southern Nigeria that also has the traits of a Kwankwasiyya, talking about the crowd movement that comes with Kwankwasiyya.
Well, yes, you see, Archbishop Idahosa is a well respected person within the Christendom. Is somebody that has been identifying with us over the years. Somebody that we know very well for a very long time. To the extent that we had 20 people who were interviewed.
Oh, there was an interview?
Oh, yes. They all went through interview, rigorous interview. In fact, when they were interviewing him, I had to go and find out what was happening. It took a lot of hours talking to him. So we tried to get the best. You see, we have worked so hard over the years. We have sacrificed so much. And that's why I believe we are in peace and we're having a lot of love and credibility in this country. We don't want to make a mistake of picking somebody that will come with a lot of baggage. We don't want that. If I'm talking of baggage, I'm talking of now during the campaign and even in government. We don't want that. We are here for reforms. We are here for changes. We are here to make Nigeria a better place. And the beginning, of course, is to have good leadership in the party, which we have, and of course, good vice president who has the opportunity of even becoming the president for many obvious reasons. So we will not go in a hurry to pick anybody from the streets to say this is the vice president. So we deliberately decided to pick him because of his credibility, because of his faith and fear of God, because we believe that he had the power, the strength, and the capability also, not only to be the vice president, even to be the president of this country. And that's why, to connect it to the Ganduje, that's why in 1999, we decided to select him as a deputy governor. And we were together with him up to 2003 when I lost the election. But even when I was made the Minister of Defense, he was my special advisor in the ministry. And 2007, when I finished my term, I had to talk to Umar Musa Adua, who gave me an appointment in the NDDC and gave him also appointment in Niger, in Chad Republic. And he was there when I got a ticket, the ticket of PDP in 2010. And I asked him to go and resign. He resigned and came back. We were together, we won election. And we were there together until 2015 when I handed over the government of Kano voluntarily and free of charge.
Let me latch onto your words. you went this way and he went that way, but there is a third force that didn't go either way, but they stuck with you. Your crowd, your people. You were in PDP, they were there for you. You left, you went to the APC, they followed you. And now you're in NNPP, they're with you. So how does it work? Because they're not looking at the political party structure, they're looking at you.
Yes. You see, there are many factors. They know the capacity, they know the intention, they know, in fact, more importantly, you see, many people think, there are people who think that we are giving them one thing. Some are even saying they drink water, they do this. No. You see, all those who are our members, first and foremost, believe in the fact that if we get, they will benefit. Meaning that they believe if I win election, all this mess that we are in today will be a thing of the past. All this issue of insecurity is just a matter of saying to them, and even to me, that Kwankwaso is the president. Many of them, the guys who ran away.
You think so?
Disappear. I believe so. It's not that I
because
think about
I
it.
still can
And
see,
that is,
sorry to cut you here, I hope you don't lose your train of thought. I still can see that video of President Buhari saying, what is Boko Haram? Then he was a candidate. I hope that's not what's being replayed now.
now, you see, many of the things our leaders were saying, including Buhari, were not actually proved. Many of them were just saying it. Even now we have people going into TV, radio, and other media stations just to say, give story. Ours is not a story. I had an opportunity in 2011 to 2015. That was the peak of Boko Haram. Boko Haram did everything possible under the sun to make Kano its base. We kicked them out. Even now, it's close to impossible for any of these guys to go and operate in Kano. What we have there is still working, is still there. First of all, we brought a synergy between Army, Air Force, SSS, police, everybody was uniformed in Kano. Synergy.
Synergy.
Yes, leadership and discipline, and it's still there intact.
So when people say that is absent at the moment, that's the truth.
That's what we have in Kano. When I was Minister of Defense, I realized there was no synergy between, even within the three arms of the military, we had to bring it. We have to bring leadership at the Chief of Defense office. And we had to bring discipline, even within the civilian cell. And that was very important. And they all know it. We had to look after their welfare. They are so happy about it and be respected for that. We had to kick out the issue of corruption. So many people who they think were offended by me or by my party tried so many things in terms of mudslinging. They cannot do anything because it's not there. So you see, the ones that are following, it's like they believe it religiously because they have seen it. It's not that they were told. They also believe that if we have this country like when we had Kano, education will be very strong. And that's key. In 4 years, we sent over 3,000 abroad. We had 2 universities. We had 26 institutes. We had hundreds of secondary schools in Kano. Nobody, and you quote me anywhere, I know you put this one. Nobody who was school age in Kano who did not go to primary school. Nobody who had secondary requirement to go to secondary who did not go to secondary school.
And
we stopped by
did
law.
all that.
We stopped by law. We stopped Al-Majiri system in Kano, and nobody was going to beg in Kano because we are not beggars.
Indian Concord, so you did all that with state's resources.
Yes, and that's the key thing.
So when governors say we don't have the resources,
it's not true. It's absolutely not true. And I proved it. In 1999, when I was as elected, there was heaps and heaps of debt.
That was your first time in office?
First time. And we paid them. When I lost the election in Kano, I did not leave 1 naira debt. The same thing when I came back 8 years after. I received piles of debt, including hundreds of millions of US dollars. And before 4 years, I paid that. I left Kano with 0 debt. Not only that, all what we have done, you go to Kano now, it's not only the education and so on. Go and see infrastructure. Go and ask any pilot in this country who was going over Kano city or state. We are the most lighted city in Nigeria, including Abuja and Lagos. I had over 100 generators. We were not even talking of NEPA or power holding at that particular time. In fact, I selected 2 dams out of 23 earth dams that we own in Kano. And in those 2 dams, we installed turbines. And the only thing that was remaining at the time I was living in Kano was transmission. I left 43 million US dollars for transmission in Kano Treasury.
Wait a minute. Let's get something. We're trying to have a nexus or to link this to the past situation in Nigeria. What you did then in Kano, can that be replicated for the entire country to fix in the power problem?
It has to. That's the thing. In fact, in our blueprint, we have already divided this country into sectors. Each sector, each area, each zone will have its competitive advantage. Where you have sun, you have sun. Where you have water, where you have dams, and even Mambila Falls and so on, that's what we are going to do. Where you have coal, you have coal. Where you have thermal oil, you have oil. You see, you cannot make any progress without electricity. You have to have electricity. We have to have it in this country because it affects production. And this lack of production is creating so many things. We produce whatever, even from the farm, we take it from the farm straight to out of the country, no value addition, no nothing. Obviously, people want to do that, but why the electricity? And wherever you have it is too expensive, especially the diesel now and so on. Now we see we have to get answers to all this. So when you see people saying Kwankwaso in places where they know him, I'm not blaming anybody in any part of the country who has no history or geography, who does not read anything, who does not visit anywhere. If he says he's supporting somebody, okay, fine and good. But the fact of the matter is, I repeat myself, don't just see somebody on the telly is talking well. Ask him, especially the presidential candidates now. These were people who, I believe, got their own past. They were either this or that. Ask them in concrete terms, what did you do? Why do you think you are different now? You don't want somebody to be elected based on his religion only, or based on his ethnicity only, or based on... You see, there are some extreme instances today in this country where people are saying if they can go to anywhere and borrow president to come and save them from this mess. That's what people are saying. And that's why our people, wherever you see them, the Kano, the Arewa, either in Arewa or in the south or anywhere, they support our ticket, not because they like me because of my name, not because of the way I look or the way I dress or the way I do things, but because of the fact that in the last 30 years I have been in the field. I have not been found wanting, either in terms of capacity or in terms of integrity. They have never done that. And people are so convinced and they are ready to go to another. And you see, Rabiu Kwankwaso is the only politician who doesn't give money.
Talking about working with anybody, some young Nigerians are not too happy with you. They think that you should have formed an alliance with your friend, Mr. Peter Obi.
Yes, I did everything possible for that alliance to work for many obvious reasons. You see, in Kwankwasiyya, we are not in a hurry. In 2007, I want to remind you that at that time, I could have tried to contest to become president because I was better qualified than almost everybody that contested at that particular time. I was civil servant for 17 years. I was Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps. I was at the time elected delegate to the Constitutional Conference of 1994-95. I was governor of Kano 4 years. I was Minister of Defense. And to become president is president and commander-in-chief. And this aspect of commander-in-chief is very important, even to understand the military, even to establish a relationship with them, to know them. We have already at that time done that. We are very close to each other. We respect ourselves a lot. But you see, I was not in a hurry. I say I wanted to go back to Kano. While my colleagues, 1999 to 2007, everybody, or many of them were contesting to become president. I had to go back to Kano to finish that one term. I wasn't in a hurry. But after doing all that, the next thing was to contest. That's why I contested in 2015, because I was in the game. And of course, in any business, you want progress. And of course, our people who know our value, who knew our capacity, were putting all sorts of pressure that we should go and take it. So we are not in a hurry in Kwankwasiyya. And the military and all other groups that were able to come across over time were always supporting that we should try as much as possible to continue.
So talking about, because you were very sure of winning, and because for some people...
No, I think there was a distraction.
Okay.
You see, the issue at that particular time was that, you see, in northern Nigeria, there is what we call mood at any election cycle. In fact, if you look at it in 92, 93, when Abiola contested to be president of this country, the mood at that time was for us to support the South. And that's exactly what we did. And coincidentally, I came from Kano, Tofa came from Kano, the NRC candidate, and we are from the same polling booth. And he was defeated there. He was defeated in our ward, in the local government, in the state, in northern Nigeria, because the mood was to go there. In 1999, I was governor-elect when Obasanjo and Ikweme and others contested. Rimi was there. Rimi had really wanted to be president because he believed and we believe he was qualified. But the mood was for it to go to the south. And it did. We went there to Jos. We were the people, as governor-elect, who delegate the highest number of delegates in PDP, and we've almost 100% voted for Obasanjo.
So at the moment,
the same thing in 2003. Now, you see, at the moment, the mood in the north today is that the presidency should be in the north. That's the mood now. And
but we have a northern president already.
Yes.
President Buhari is from the north.
Yes, that is one. He is in the APC. That is one. Number two, there were certain things. Buhari was voted mainly to cure some of the ills that we had in 2015, especially the issue of Boko Haram. The question is that you can say security, which covers all aspects, either Boko Haram or bandit or terrorist or anything. The issue is, are we any better today? If you put everything on the scale, they believe, people in the north believe we are not any better.
Was that why you
in
have
terms
the
of
APC?
economy, are we any better in terms of economy in 2022 now? And when you compare with 2015, the belief in the north is that we are not any better. And so it doesn't matter what APC or any other party. I'm just telling you the realities on the ground. And then average northern, no matter what you say, what you do, that's why he's going to do. We know the cycle. I participated in this cycle. In fact, This my last election in NNPP was the 18th in 30 years. Primary, secondary. In fact, when I was in the House of Reps, I contested the state and in the House of Reps in my constituency, primary election, secondary election. I went to the floor of the House with many other candidates. I contested to become Deputy Speaker, House of Reps. So put together in the last 30 years, I contested election 18 times. So we know, and nobody controls this mood.
Let me bring this so that we can wrap up on this. Looking at the candidates so far, and looking at your resume, perhaps maybe let me just quickly catch up on that again. You've been a minister, you've been a governor 2 times, and you were very sure going back, and you won that election, and you've been a minister. And do you think in all of these candidates, these headliners, talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, do you think you can actually defeat these people?
You see, I'm so happy that people are putting NNPP among the 4 major parties. I am contented with that. But this party is just about 5, 6 months old now. It's not like party that was formed like APC. APC, we had governors, in fact 5 of us from PDP joined. We had APC, what do you call it, other parties, ABGA and so on, to form
the CPC.
This one can argue that not many of us, just the people. So the fight, the election in 2023 will be between the people of this country, people who want change and people who want to maintain status quo by all means. To us in NNPP, PDP and APC are one and the same people. And I can testify to that because I have been in all the 2. I know what they stand for. We formed PDP in 98, 99 and became governor. We formed the party because we wanted to kick out the military. Now, it was when we became governor, I realized that I was in trouble. So many people who are on the other side of the scale, who want to share money, who want to make sure that poor man remains poor forever and his children and grandchildren were with us. And it didn't work. I lost the election in 2003. Now, I had no capacity at that time to start this. I would have started. So the best thing was to form forces to bring out APC. APC, unfortunately, because of, I thought progressive people are there, unfortunately, look at where we find ourselves. Everybody, especially the PDP itself, believes that is better than APC. And before NNPP, they believed that the election will be a 2-horse race. And yes, they were bad, but these ones are worst. So they would win election.
Did you, this is the last one from us. Did you have a chance to speak with President Buhari and say, Mr. President, I think you're steering the ship the wrong way?
Well, you know, when we started, I had opportunities to go to him and, you know, share my thoughts and so on. In any case, I was contesting to become president. I had my ideas, I had my blueprint. He gave as much advice as I could. But over the time, we realized that it was not working. That's why we had to go back to PDP. But mainly was about Kano itself, because most of the issues were coming from Kano into the APC here at the national level. So that was why we tried to go to PDP, mainly to bring change from our base, which we did. Everybody knows we won election in 2019 in Kano. But the powers that be decided that the man had to be imposed on the majority of the people, which is still there, but I believe it's not working for anybody, including the APC itself. So we try to give advice, and at my level, even if president is not from my party, as a citizen of this country, one has the right, sometimes even obligation, to give his own version of advice.
Rabiu Kwankwaso, presidential candidate of the NNPP, many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Africa, this is News Central exclusive. or the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party. Your country or your candidate may be next. I'm Sulaiman. Aledeh. Many thanks for watching.